All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. I do not see anyone in live chat. That's usually not a good, not good when that happens. Although I do see some people have liked the stream, so I guess it is visible. We'll make sure we're actually live over there. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack today. We'll circle back around and talk about the Trump indictment circus, which is what it's devolved into. Ron Desantis' abysmal approach to responding to it. His political ambitions now are a little bit more dumbed down, I think, as a result of his ineptitude. And, of course, the ESG bill and other things. But first, it appears that my video is still processing over on Rumble. We'll give it an extra minute. 487 Sean Tower. I cannot understand why the GOP cannot bring charges against the 10 New York City prosecutors for honk honk. I can't mention that on YouTube. It is a huge felony on those attorneys. Well, because Wikipedia has decided that honking did not happen in any past election. Except in 2016. You're allowed to say that the Russians stole that one. King of Biltong. Good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Hashtag Clank Nation. I will be getting some of that biltong. Let me see what the fuck is happening with Rumble. There are people watching, and it does appear that I'm live, but for some reason it's still, to everyone on Rumble, it's still telling me, please wait till your video finishes processing, 33%. I do see chats working. Unaltered DNA says oomph. No bump, it says here. Jester955i, morning sticks, love the channel, watching from the UK. Any chance of some more MRE reviews? When I'm back in the United States, I intend to do a shit ton of those because I have a mountain of MREs waiting for me when I'm back there, including the vegetarian lasagna. I managed to secure one of those. I can't wait because that was the best MRE I ever ate, actually. Not a banned account. First Trump arrest, next his Confederates in Congress. Yeah, the Lincoln Project and others were actually effectively insinuating that, well, if we can get Trump, we can get anyone. We're coming for you. Yeah, that doesn't exactly evince what Donald Trump said years ago, which is that he was just standing in the way. They weren't coming for him, they were coming for you. Great way to give evidence to the people that hate you. Fallen Hero 4567, good morning. Yeah, we are live on Rumble, but it's still, let me see. If I refresh it again, oh. There are people watching. Chat's working. I'm not sure. Rumble appears to be having a little bit of an issue right now, but I do appear to be live. I'm wondering, are you capable of actually sending a Rumble rant on there, like the paid ones? YouTube has been disconnected. There's a million fucking goddamn problems every time I try to go live. 487 Sean Tower, you entirely missed my meaning. The experimental charges and timing of now, not previous election. Yeah, Congress can definitely look into them, but they don't have the ability to actually charge anyone with anything. So when McCarthy and others are looking into what Alvin Bragg is doing, they can find wrongdoing, but they have to refer potential charges. Oscar S117, salutations from Florida. Keep speaking the truth. Wilden, it's my birthday. Take my money and have a good day, my man. Happy birthday to you, Wilden. Anyway, we'll get right into the first news story. House GOP uses its new power in extraordinary effort to shield Trump from indictment. Yes, McCarthy and the other House Republicans are looking into what Alvin Bragg is doing. This is only one component, as I reported on this morning, of what has become a goddamn fucking political circus. If you needed any more evidence that the Trump indictment saga was nothing more than a political ploy, well, the amount of news on it and all the microcosms attended to it should probably prove that point fairly well. Rand Paul weighing in, by the way, weighing in better than DeSantis did. Again, I think that my belief that he should be the heir apparent instead of somebody else after Trump leaves is evidenced. I think that Rand Paul is our man. We'll see if he goes on there. Yeah, some people are saying they can't see the Rumble stream, but there are over 500 people watching, so I see plenty of people in there in chat, so I'm calling shenanigans here. Not a banned account. Will USA reappropriate farmland like the Netherlands? They would probably love to try. Well, we've got too many emissions. We need to requisition half of Iowa in order to make sure everything's okay. E100 Omega 123, if Ron D had waited until 2028 to run against, would have been a shoo-in. Running against Trump now is poisoning his own well. We will talk about that. First, we got to talk about the case at large. Now, in the coming hours, we may find out that it is true that Donald Trump has been indicted by Alvin Bragg in his lawless Manhattan court. We're not sure, though. That's what they're saying, but they said that Tuesday was the big day. They then decided to jump it ahead a day. Now they're saying there might be more testimony today. They're not 100% sure. And that it might be next week. So we have no fucking clue what's going on. Things are not making sense. And when things make sense, they are typically not true. The entire proceedings are at this point objectively a farce. Donald Trump did not break any law. At most, a misdemeanor that's outside of the statute of limitations by several years. Here's the other thing. If it's a misdemeanor charge of misclassifying business funds, so basically fraud, then the statute of limitations is much shorter, in which case it definitely already ran its course. If Alvin Bragg really tries to bring felony charges to extend the statute of limitations to 5 years and say, well, yeah, but the time that he spent outside of the state doesn't count, so it still applies. Oh boy, is a lawyer going to have fun with that? I have a feeling that the charges will fall through if they happen at all. John Andrew, why can't attorneys be disbarred for political prosecution? By the way, this is for catnip funds, so the furries calm down. There is some catnip over here, actually. It doesn't calm them down, though, unfortunately. Yeah, if you engage in politically motivated prosecution, you probably should be disbarred, but who makes that determination? A bunch of other lawyers. Jack's regret. I keep hearing people are getting red-pilled. Is this true, or are we being delusional? Things keep escalating. They are still pushing wokeness. Wokeness is widely discredited and disbelieved in by the American public. The term itself, if you sanitize it and you use the leftoid definition, is approved of mildly, but every subjugate component of it is not approved of. I've pointed this out. I encourage others to do the same. The Grizzly. Ron DeSantis lost any of my support and proved razor fist right about him being a snake in the grass. How ill-informed does he have to be in order to behave the way he has? Vivek Ramaswamy acted better than Ron. Yeah, Ramaswamy actually rose to the occasion, which is why the legacy media prefers not to talk about that. I am right. How do you think MAGA supporters will react if and when Biden is indicted? 2 cop cars were burned the other day in New York. Leftoids probably did that one. We'll get into that, though, briefly. Not a banned account. Do the Dutch not realize food comes from farms? Oh, the Dutch do. The government doesn't, which is why the Dutch Farmers Party is now the largest party in their legislative body. Who Lover, can I get a happy birthday for my partner? Clank. Happy birthday, Who Lover's partner. Opinionated Junkie. Georgia talking about RICO charges for Trump. Yeah, well, Georgia can suck a dick. 487 Sean Tower. DeSantis is a more polished Pence. We'll be talking about Pence on the fence as well today. Texas P12. How do you feel about Crowder's show doing well on Rumble? Good. Anything that helps any new tech platform is, in my opinion, a good thing. I am right. For a guy who is opposed to organized religion, you certainly try to look like the stereotypical Jesus Christ. I don't think Jesus was myopic. I prefer to be compared to Judas Iscariot, actually. Anyway, we'll get right into DeSantis. This is, technically, for a lot of people, this seems to be the news of the day. Breaking, DeSantis grills Manhattan District Attorney for potential Trump indictment. That's not all of what he did. Let me explain here in a nutshell the problem that I see. I'm taking up my assertive stance here, Indian style on the chair. Here's the problem. What I don't have a problem with is Ron DeSantis attacking Trump in his statement. I know that's the big sticking point for a lot of people who support Trump. That's just political theater. It is nothing more than the fact that DeSantis is presumptively running for the presidency. He wants to win in the primary, so he's backhanding Donald Trump. That's not the problem. The problem with his response is optics. Optics, optics, optics. First, he waits 2 days to respond and gives a response that is 90% lawyer speak. Does this speak well to his ability to lead in the executive capacity, or does it seem petulant? It seems petulant. Number 2, you're the chief executive of the state of Florida, and one of your residents is being harassed by a blatantly political process, which you yourself admit appears to be blatantly political. Do you act like that's a serious matter, overturning 200 years of precedent, harassing one of your citizens who happens to be the goddamn former president of the United States and your potential opponent in the primary? Or do you look flippant doing so? Do you act like it's really no big deal? Hey, I'm going to stand around and don't worry, I'll monitor the situation. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, DeSantis fans. You'll know what that line is from. He looks flippant. He looks like he doesn't give a fucking goddamn shit. He doesn't care about it. Number 3, if you're going to choose to backhand your opponent, is the right time to do that the time in which you're addressing a very serious issue of prosecutorial overreach from a different state, so it's not from Florida, involving a partisan prosecutor, a partisan attorney general, rather, Alvin Bragg, who has been in part funded by one of the boogeymen of the right wing, namely George Soros. That's probably not the time to do it. See, the problem here is the timing, the optics of it. It's not the carry through. The pragmatic carry through is, yeah, he backhanded Trump during his statement. I don't care. I support Trump. I do not care if Trump gets insulted by other people. He doesn't have thin skin. I don't give a fucking goddamn shit. And it doesn't matter to me. This is part of politics, a la the modern era. That's fine. The problem is the lack of finesse. And the other part, and probably the biggest one, imagine you're Ron DeSantis. You have just been handed, ultimately, the biggest goddamn gift you could possibly be handed in politics. You have a person you're presumptively running against, Donald Trump. He has subjugated you. He has pointed out multiple times, as of his fans, and it is not an inaccurate claim, that you would have lost against Gillum back in 2018 if it weren't for Donald Trump's endorsement. You are a subjugate. People are trained mentally to think of people in subjugate or superior positions because it's basic biology. We think of alpha and beta and omega and all of these things. This is how we tend to categorize the world. This is why people wear suits with wide shoulders. This is why people drive sports cars to try to impress others. This is how yuppieism began. This is just how the ape-like mentality of humankind works. You were handed a gift in which you could have completely goddamn gobsmacked Donald Trump and Alvin Bragg at the same time, and you didn't take it. You decided to half-ass it. Here's what I would have done. Here's what I would have done if I were Ron DeSantis. Here's what I would have come out and say. Number 1, I would have come out and I would have said it very early. I would have preempted a bunch of other people in their responses to make sure that I got that limelight. Because, of course, waiting is going to piss off the core MAGA fans that I need not only for the primary potentially, but definitely for the general election. So even if my response isn't perfect, at the very least, I made a response early. Otherwise, what do I get? Nothing. I get fucked in the ass because it makes them think that I'm trying to throw my potential opponent under the bus. So I would have come in early. And here's what I would have said. I would have said, ultimately, it looks like Alvin Bragg's prosecution is politically motivated. The DOJ, pondering the same case, decided not to prosecute Donald Trump. They didn't have the evidence. They didn't have the wherewithal. There was no reason to proceed. And yet here we have this Manhattan DA, this woke Soros-funded DA proceeding with those charges anyway. I wouldn't have mentioned Stormy Daniels. I wouldn't have mentioned anything like that. Here's how you really would have gobsmacked Trump. Not by bringing up, hey, hush money to a porn star. That's a low, below-the-belt hit. And if you're going to go into the ring with somebody like Donald Trump and try to do the below-the-belt thing, you will lose. Here's how you take the high road and prevent Trump from even being able to legitimately respond. You subjugate him. You say, he is a citizen of my state. He is a resident of my state. Ron DeSantis' state. I'm the governor here. I'm the big kahuna. And he happens to be one of my residents. So I'm going to be paying close attention to this. And if there's any shenanigans or anything like that, I assure people that I will step in and do my utmost to defend the rights of one of my state's residents. Closed. That's all you had to say. That's all Ron DeSantis had to do. Strategic genius. He won. He would have won if he had done that, but he decided not to. Instead, he decided to do the normal get into the ring with Trump thing and do a below the belt hit. That's not the way to destroy Donald Trump. You failed, dude. Ron DeSantis absolutely failed on this count. Now, does this disqualify him? Because I see a lot of DeSantis simps. They're saying, well, Sticks, you're saying he's disqualified for this one thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to teach you about political optics. I don't want to nominate somebody who makes that kind of grave miscalculation. If you're going to be up against Joe Biden, you're going to be up against the Hong Kong machine. I don't care about Biden himself. He's not capable of debating his way out of a paper bag. But you're going to be up against the Hong Kong machine. Can you do that if you make that kind of error on a regular basis? No, you can't. You will lose. In the general election, he would be goddamn sunk. Ron DeSantis, viable individual. Yes, very viable. Again, you were handed the biggest gift politically that you could possibly be handed. You were handed a situation in which all you had to do was establish that sort of quasi-foe camaraderie with Trump and say, look, you know, I feel sorry for him. He's being abused by these fucking New Yorkers and they're all woke and they're all piles of turds. I will defend him. You could set yourself above Trump in that scenario, but you didn't do that. Instead, you just decided to have a grudge match. Bad mistake to Ron DeSantis. I think his viability has slipped some. Now, again, if there is a primary, if DeSantis gets in, we're still not sure, and he wins fair and square, I am still willing to vote for Ron DeSantis. I'm not throwing him out with the bathwater. But that being said, this is potentially a blot. As I've said before, the free speech bill there, that would be another blot if he were to vote for it, because it effectively would eliminate the ability of people to criticize religion via paper billets, which is blatantly unconstitutional. But I prefer Donald Trump. This was not a match decided in DeSantis' favor. This was a KO, actually, of him by the Trump campaign. And Trump came out and he responded. And what normally would be considered a very below-the-belt petulant response by Trump flies under the radar because Ron DeSantis doesn't have a leg to stand on. See, he opened himself up to attack without actually delivering any payload, and that's really the problem. He's looking a bit like Mitt Romney right now, actually. Sean Mayer, what is your opinion on YouTubers who self-censor like Tim Pool yet encourage you to stand up against your woke employer and quit? Is it all a show? I don't know that he self-censors. You have to conform to TOS. That being said, if you can do so in an amiable way, it makes sense to do so. You can make more money. Everyone has to make a living. If your employer is completely woke and you have another job lined up, yeah, you should absolutely quit and switch. Not everyone's in that particular position, though. Opinionated Junkie, thanks for calling out DeSantis fanboys, apolitical bandwagoners. They will jump ship if DeSantis loses like they did Trump. Yeah, I don't think that any of them would not vote for Trump, but I do think that with his particular style of response here, some Trump fans would not vote for Ron DeSantis. So if I'm looking for viability, I would prefer Trump anyway, because he hasn't alienated DeSantis fans. Yeah, he attacked him. Okay, DeSantis attacked him too. That's even Stevens. We're not talking about normal political times here. We're talking about a criminal proceeding. We're talking about an out-of-control Manhattan DA that is clearly attempting to dogpile Trump. Now is not the time to be flippant. Now would be the time for DeSantis to do exactly as I suggested. Subjugate Trump. Come out and say, look, he's a resident of my state. I'll look into the situation, and if any rights are violated, I will do my best. That's what he should have done. Trump can't attack him if he does that. Instead, he leaves himself completely open and unguarded by taking a jab. It's like watching a boxing match, and the dude jabs at the other dude, leaves himself completely open, and then gets floored, when he could have just fucking roundhoused him effectively. But he didn't do that. Yeah, you're really, with that kind of finesse, you're going to be able to stand up against the honk machine and the DNC plus RNC. And that's, by the way, making an assumption. I've talked about the black pillars out there. They say, well, Donald Trump can't win. We have to go with DeSantis or Pence or whatever, because Trump can't win because they'll honk it again. If you believe that Ron DeSantis is principled, so he's a populist, he really cares. Why wouldn't they do the same thing against him? So why should I go with Ron DeSantis instead of the dude who has on-the-job experience, who I've already seen do the fucking job? No, I think I'll be sticking with Trump. Whether he wins or loses is a complete non-issue to me. I'm still going to stick with him because he's the most qualified candidate. It's him. All the stars are dead. Hey, Sticks, what are your thoughts on the 5 million of reparations in San Francisco? I think it's more than 5 million. I told my South African wife about it, and she thought I was joking. I thought that they were pledging, what was it? I can't remember the total for every individual. Or was that the 5 million? I can't even remember. It won't happen, though. That committee that they've convened is incapable of doing anything other than making an advisory statement and saying, this is what we think you should do. It won't actually go through. Tundalea Kapufnik. It seems to me that the leftards are using the Trump arrest narrative to incite his supporters to riot. That is the other part. They are definitely hoping that things get violent, which is why I've stated, and others, you can withdraw money from your account to cause runs. You can peacefully protest, preferably on your own property, of course. You can picket and refuse to go to work. It would not be a good idea to show up at a place where there's 1,000 people and the next Ray Epps shows up and starts egging people on to enter a federal building. That would be counterproductive. John, do you think Chang the janitor is still alive? Unlikely. He probably got eaten too. Mick Adams, as the son of a farmer and food enthusiast, I'm happy for the Dutch farmers. Hope they can build on this small victory. Oh, it is more than a small victory. They're the largest political bloc now in their legislature. This was a major victory. Shaker Silver, Robert Barnes did a great rant describing how DeSantis has ruined his ambitions. Now wasn't the time for jabs, but unity. Shows he's too hungry for power. Yeah, although to not be hypocritical, again, as a Trump fan, as someone who will vote for him if he's the nominee, we would be reticent to not mention the fact that Trump is power hungry as well. He clearly likes the position. As I said years ago, he wanted the Triple Crown. He had the money. He had the fame. He wanted the power, the political influence, and he got it. The only thing that Donald Trump can do in his entire life is get his second term. And the fact that it's non-consecutive Grover Cleveland style actually is the icing on the cake. If he gets it, it will be one for the ages. It will be the all-time Americana story, which is why I'm Team Trump. Bara, if DeSantis runs, will he have to step down as governor? My understanding is yes, if he wins, actually, which means he's broken his pledge to the people of Florida, by the way. Not a bad account. Will fortification protect democracy from Trump? They will definitely try. TJ Edwards, 18, as a Trump supporter since the day he walked down the escalator, screw DeSantis. I'll write myself or Trump in if Trump isn't the general. Why wouldn't you write me in? Maybe I'll run. If Trump's not there, yeah, whatever. It's maybe a joke campaign, but at least it's a funny joke. You know, imagine this. It comes down to 2 electoral votes. And in the final state, DeSantis loses by 20 votes, and then 30 people voted for some YouTuber. It would be the ultimate all-time joke. It'd be the run-up to having a Grover Cleveland-style Trump candidacy. Sleeping Earthlings. DeSantis would never run against Trump unless the establishment uniparty surrounded him with their support. Yeah, it does seem that the Bushes of the world do like DeSantis. But I think that's more because they think he's more viable, but they're wrong. Hopium Gardner. Ron DeShabos should probably just pack it up and resign. DeSantis dissenters vindicated. Again, if he wins a primary that is fair, so Trump is not off the campaign trail due to excessive litigation, and there's no shenanigans, no honking by Ronna McDaniels, Mitch McConnell, etc., I wouldn't necessarily vote against DeSantis. I wouldn't have a problem with him. I've seen his job as governor. It's not a bad job. He was on board, at least originally, with MAGA, so he's got some populist stripes on his shoulder. But I prefer Trump. And his response sucked. Let's just put it bluntly. His response was a pile of fucking horse shit. He completely failed. He was handed an arguable 10 out of 10 victory, and he managed to fumble it. It's like you got the ultimate pass from the most star quarterback, and you're running it into the end zone, and then you just trip and fall at the 5-yard line or something. I get the reference, even though I hate sports. Ozzy's Robots, YouTube's increasing censoring, and my Twitter feed is full of leftards all of a sudden. New normal? Also, Glowy's out in force in New York City. Beware. I haven't seen any big change on Twitter. I have on YouTube, though. BW, do you think DeSantis keeps Trump from the nomination? No, I think that Trump is still clearly the front runner. We'll see what polling movement happens. If anything, I think that DeSantis' response here, being belated and being, whirlwindy, might hurt him. I think that he might lose a few points of support. Sleeping Earthlings, Trump can't win. A guy that got more votes than any candidate in history with 75 million votes can't win. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, exactly. TJ Edwards, 18. I'd write you in. Lol. Yeah, I got 16 votes for the governor of Vermont by making one YouTube video back years ago. So, I mean, I have more viability than Nikki Haley. I'm more likely to win than Ramaswamy. Deprecated over on Rumble. I love listening to your live shows while at work, but since I'm catching one live, have some money. Thank you for the money. I love it. Musings of a Witch's Path. I can see DeSantis being president one day, just not 24. I don't believe that he is ready for the job. That's not my problem. My problem is this shows a lack of strategic sense. And if you're going to run a general, you need a lot of strategic sense. Trump already showed he's capable of winning, minus honk honk. DeSantis hasn't shown that. So if he doesn't show strategic sense, it's a problem for me. Rob S. Clank. Next news story. Republicans torch Biden veto a bipartisan ESG bill. Yes, several Democrats joined them on this one. Good luck explaining this one. Biden is once again putting his leftist agenda, although it's really a corporate agenda, over supporting bipartisan work for Americans in Congress. Representative Austin Scott said, yes, Joe Biden has decided that ESG should be considered in investments that are being made for people's retirement accounts, which means people's retirement accounts are inevitably going to be hazarded because, of course, ESG has nothing to do with the meritocratic functions of a proper corporation. Somehow I'm seeing people claiming that the Republicans and again, several Democrats are the ones being authoritarian about this. How dare they think that Americans' investments that are being co-opted in part by the government and regulated thereupon should be dealt with in a meritocratic fashion, as opposed to, hey, how many solar panels did the bank put up? How many black workers did this particular company being invested in decide to hire in that fiscal quarter? Yeah, that's authoritarian. The idea that businesses should first and foremost be about doing business as opposed to wokeness. President Biden's first veto in his presidency, he has never vetoed anything before, was to defend ESG, to defend corporate wokeness. Oh, wow, are your priorities a little bit out of whack? It doesn't surprise me, though. If anything, I would be surprised if he hadn't, unfortunately. But he's basically, keep in mind, Joe Biden is not the one calling the shots, primarily. His puppet masters are the ones calling the shots. He's the steward, and Grima Wormtongue is really the one that's leading things at the moment. I know that I'm doing a mixed metaphor, Lord of the Rings style there between Gondor and Rohan, but you get the idea. Imagine that the steward of Gondor wasn't fucked up because of grief. He was fucked up because Grima Wormtongue cloned himself. That would basically be Joe Biden. Paul Ross, who would win in a fist fight, DeSantis or Trump? Well, DeSantis is 30 years younger, so probably has a bit more vigor. Also, he's a bit more in shape, actually. I don't do the God Emperor meme thing. I think that Trump did a very good job as president, and I hope that he is reelected to that office. That doesn't make him immortal. It doesn't make him perfect. If anything, the veneer of perfection that he, in part, helped to promulgate, both willingly and unwittingly, it became a detriment because people expected him to do so many great things. And when they were confronted with the reality of the way the U.S. government works, checks and balances, et cetera, very slow bureaucratic process, they blamed Trump for not doing enough fast enough, even though he was constitutionally incapable of doing more than he did. He did his due diligence. He did his work. He did a good job. He's ready for re-election. In my opinion, it will be a goddamn crime if Trump is not re-elected. Our nation will suffer if that's not the case. Adam THM, Clay Travis said Trump didn't say he would be arrested yesterday for attention. However, he took it as a challenge for Bragg to look like a B. Your take? It's possible. Although I would point out that Trump was reacting to news that came originally from NBC. Rob S., where is Fetterman? I think he's still in Walter Reed. They said something about him potentially being released in the next few weeks, but we're not exactly sure. Greg's Kitchen. I love you, brother. I love you too, Greg. We'll cook each other some food someday, potentially. I will make Parthian chicken, tasting history style. Max Miller, of course. Oh boy, you have never had chicken quite that good. Despite the ingredients being a little bit on the unorthodox side. I swear to God, it's delicious. Corto Maltese, Styx is never wrong. Incorrect. I have been wrong a few times on some races. South Dakota is the best state. Styx has now said South Dakota is the best state, so it's automatically true. Interesting. I do like the Dakotas look nice, but cold and snowy and kind of a lot of flatlands, I think. And then the western side, a shit ton of almost impassable mountains, if I remember correctly. I don't know, anywhere that's colder than Vermont is not some place that's on my priority list to do more than visit in the warm months. The Grizzly, the God Emperor meme fits Trump absolutely perfect. In Warhammer, the Emperor never wanted to be God, hated religion, makes a ton of mistakes, but is good rule. The minute he keels over, he becomes a perfect Messiah God. Yeah, but the thing is, people's perception of him as being like, Lord Emperor Trump was more like he's not going to make any mistakes. He's going to completely abolish the globalism. On day one, he waves a magic wand and everything becomes hunky-dory. And we're back in 1955 minus the segregation or something. That didn't happen. He was a mild reformer, did very, very well in the reforms that he pledged himself towards, both foreign and domestic. I would absolutely vote for him again in a heartbeat. He did a good job. Let's give him credit for what he did. I don't see Biden crawling across the DMZ to shake hands with Kim Jong-un. I don't see the Bidenflation going away. I don't see anything positive about the current stewardship. I see a lot of positive things about the Trump administration. Not perfect, 6 out of 10. What has he got to compare to? The 2 out of 10 of Obama, the 1 out of 10 of W, or his daddy? What about the 3 out of 10 of Bill Clinton? So far, 0 out of 10 for Joe Biden. The last time we had something competent was the first term of Reagan. Not his second term, but at least the first 4 years were decent. That's the last time prior to Trump that we had decent government. The first term of Ronald Reagan. Plantation sensation. MSN running headlines read, Biden vetoes ESG bill. Yes, covered that. Silky Johnson. Who would win in a wrestling match, Lemmy or God? That's a tough one. People can weigh in the comments. Keyblade Knight. Do you think that people should tell more riddles since they encourage critical and lateral thinking? Yeah, I've actually got a notepad file with a bunch of them. I wanted to do a compilation of them. I'm a song. As I recall, the steward was fucked up because he was in contact with Sauron via the Palantir globe. Something globalists. Yeah, in contact with George Soros and Klaus Schwab. No wonder he's fucked. Corto Maltese. The Black Hills get about -20 in winter and over 110 in the summer. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Yeah, that's a little bit of an extreme swing for me. That's pretty much Vermont style, although Vermont gets less heat in the summer. Next news story. Imagine, oh my God, what a tie-in to talking about Trump as God Emperor. American company outraged after Mexican military and police seized Caribbean facility. This is insane. This forcible seizure of property is unlawful and unacceptable, says Senator Katie Britt, of course, a Republican. Yes, a company called Cemex complained to the government of Mexico a while back about a company called Vulcan Materials, which is based in Alabama. And the Mexican police and military stormed the facility, this port facility, I guess on behalf of the Mexican government, because Vulcan Materials was saying, look, they can't be here. They don't have proper permitting, and we do, and I don't know what the fuck is going on. And the Mexican government itself, after several days, has not really addressed this issue. In fact, Obrador the other day was saying, look, don't worry, America. We'll make sure that the drugs stop flowing across the border. By the way, our country is safer than yours. Over the last couple of years, the United States under the Biden stewardship has become such a diplomatic and social laughingstock that right now the Mexican government has sent literal soldiers into the area controlled by a US-based firm in order to effectively take over that chunk of land and allow Cemex to continue functioning. Can you goddamn imagine in a million years what Trump would have done if the Mexican government had done this? He would have gone ballistic. He would have immediately, there'd be more than a mean tweet. He'd be insinuating the possibility of war, and the Mexican government would have backed down. Oh, wait, there never would have been such a dust-up in the first place, because Donald Trump, supposedly racist against every Hispanic person, especially Mexicans, Mataco Bowl at Trump Tower for Cinco de Mayo, actually got along really well with Obrador. It wasn't until Stuart Biden was nominated and then selected for office that things fell apart. I wonder why the southern border's a mess. Could it be non-cooperation? Yes. So yeah, a U.S. firm. I'll read a little bit of this verbatim. According to Vulcan Materials, a Birmingham, Alabama-based company and the largest producer of construction aggregates in the United States, by the way, members of the Mexican Navy, local state police, along with federal investigators, entered the quarry just south of Playa del Carmen in Mexico's Quintana Roo state in the early morning hours of March 14th. So, again, the Mexican government has stonewalled the Biden admin for more than a week now. They then forced the company to allow Cemex, a Mexican-owned materials company, to unload a shipment of cement from a ship in the port. So basically, if there's any form of contractual dispute over the legitimacy of Cemex or any other company being able to use the port that's being used by the U.S. firm, the Mexican military will just march in. Hey, friend, sorry, but they're going to be unloading their ship. Oh, you don't like that? Should we shoot you? And this is what happens in third world countries, by the way. And Biden has done exactly jack shit other than express concern. Well, we think this is very concerned. I don't even think that he addressed it himself. I think it was Blinken or somebody like that to address it. Absolutely goddamn nothing. Can you imagine if Mexico had decided to effectively seize a U.S.-controlled port for commercial purposes, not government-controlled, but for the purposes of Vulcan Materials, how Trump would have responded, assuming it ever happened in the first place? Thanks, Joe. Really cool, Brandon. Yeah, dark Brandon. More like dork Brandon. Everyone's real intimidated by him. That's why the North Koreans, the Mexicans, which are literally part of our same sphere, they're literally allies of the United States. That's why everyone is bullying the United States around right now. They're really afraid of what dork Brandon will do. Ozzy's Robots. Bought a building to emblazon with my museum name on it, Trump style, but now I have a woke company that's offering a 10-year, $1 million lease contingent on getting the giant sign. Thoughts? If I were you, because you're apparently fucking loaded, I would just reject it and chuckle at them, because who cares? You've got more money than you could ever use. If I had that kind of money, I would troll these people too. So just make sure to document everything, get lots of video footage and everything, and then make lots of meme videos about it. Night of the Living Fred, here to screw up your demo sticks. First vote ever made was George H.W. Bush Daddy in the 1980 primary. I'm very sorry to hear that. George Herbert Walker Bush. Read my lips. No new taxes. Oh, shit. Doubt Shadow. That Bill Mitchell dude has a poll up. I DM'd you. I will take care of that in a second here. Bill Mitchell put up a poll. He tends to react poorly when the poll doesn't go his way. Let me see here. All right, don't worry. I'll get it up on there. Just a second, everyone. I'm doing my best. Did Trump put his supporters at risk by calling for protests in the case of his indictment? I will vote no. And the no's are carrying it. I'm putting it in chat. Everyone go fucking vote. We're going to troll Bill Mitchell. He's so salty because a lot of people don't like Ron DeSantis. He's got DeSantis up his ass. William Brockman, will U.S. and China be at war in 2025? I will say tentatively no. Paul Ross, thoughts on Catherine Austin Fitz? Oh, let me retweet that. There we go. I don't know who that is. Irma Gersh, Crowder had 175K streaming Monday on Rumble. Good for him. Excellent. Sparky, Sticks, isn't it great that Dutch farmers now have some government representation? Getting ready to plant here in the Deep South, by the way. Yeah, I would love to be planting right now, too, although it's a little bit too dreary for that. Yes, it is great. It's good to see the globaloids get some comeuppance once in a fucking while. Next news story, a potential Trump indictment is a sideshow gift to the Biden family. Glossing this over quickly, there are a lot of questions right now about Chi-Com money going to the Biden family. And wouldn't you know, right around the time that those questions are raised, all of a sudden there's a leak to NBC News talking about how Trump might be indicted in the coming days. I just wanted to point that out. It's nothing major. I'm not going to go through the fucking claims themselves. It involves Hallie Biden and Hunter and all the others that keep getting their asses covered. By the way, they're covering for Al Franken's ass, actually, too. He got a Daily Show slot, despite the fact that he had to leave his political position because he sexually assaulted a sleeping journalist. And you have a literal picture of that happening. Apparently, they have very low standards there at that particular program. Doesn't surprise me. A bunch of woke tards. Let's see. Killshot RC. Good morning, Sticks. Clank, clank. Always with the clanking and the hammering. Next news story. Are we about to enter a full-scale banking crisis? The international monetary system is looking increasingly shaky. Yes, better people than me that are more into economics in the more pure sense. I like to analyze when things happen. I try not to do predictive economics because I'm not an economist. And while I'm good at making money and being frugal and saving and storing up wealth, I don't know the ins and outs of every aspect of the stock market. So generally, I limit my exposure to that. What I would like to point out is this. In my opinion, based just solely on what people expect, so looking just at the consumer and business confidence side of things, we are getting closer and closer to the possibility of a massive financial collapse. That's just based on a premonition, just looking at what people say about it. It's not even based on any like meat and bones economics, like, hey, here's the leverage we got, and here's the number of bonds we have, and here's the interest rates, and all of the number crunching. That almost doesn't matter in a democratized era. Everyone is connected by social media instantaneously. If you get enough people convinced that the run is coming, convinced that the bank will fail, people will start yanking their money and it will inevitably fail. This is sort of what happened with SVB, actually. People were communicating about their lack of confidence in the bank, and all of a sudden billions of dollars of actual deposits were had. And that can be what happens. And you probably don't need that much more antagonism towards the banking sector to make it collapse. You probably don't need that much more because so many banks have already gone belly up or been eaten up for far below what they were once worth. Look at Credit Suisse. Again, losing the vast majority of its initial evaluated value at its height and getting bought out for pennies on the dollar by USB or UBS, actually, I think. Can't remember. Getting bought out for far lower than originally it was technically worth. And they can blame cryptocurrency, which they have been, for this all they want, but that's not really the case. They can blame tech firms all they want. Credit Suisse, not overexposed to that. I think there were different reasons for that. Let's say that the entire economy is massively inflated and overevaluated at this point, and that people are starting to realize that that's the case. Whoops, yeah, that could be a little bit painful. Javin said $2, no comment. Thank you very much. 487 Sean Tower, my thought for the day. Trump is the American bull needed to break things up in the China shop. Agreed. The Grizzly, watch the uniparty war chickens start screeching for war against Mexico in the next few years if stuff like this keeps happening. That'd be a difficult war. Mexico has a considerable amount of manpower, and they are actually a military ally. Now, I think that the uniparty will actually ignore it because the uniparty has no problem with Mexico doing this. Long as the deal is sweetened behind closed doors, it doesn't matter if a private corporation gets fucked. Skate Betty, geology rocks, but geography is where it's at. I like that. BW, didn't put Timmerman's mom in the chili, did you? I'll be making chili fairly soon. And then the final news story. This is a throwaway. I just wanted to bring it the fuck up. Pence calls potential Trump indictment not what the American people want to see. So you have no personal feelings, Mike, about this whatsoever. It's just you don't think that people are really, they're not feeling it right now. And that you thought it was important to bring that up. Here's my thoughts on Mike Pence. I was completely right about him. I was hyperbolically right about him, his character, his ideology, everything about him. He should never have been chosen as Trump's running mate, and I think I know why Trump did choose him. He was hoping that the neocons would at least temporarily leave him be if it made it look like he was giving them an olive branch. To keep them from going behind the scenes and honking, he simply puts the obvious neocon literal fucking Bush lookalike, like he looks like the inbred cousin of Jeb. You put him in as running mate, and they say, oh, okay, well, Trump, he's just being hyperbolic when he says this populist stuff. He's being hyperbolic. He's actually one of us, but he's playing a role, wink, wink, nudge, nudge style, so we won't worry too much and we won't really hammerhand him. I guess it worked. I think there were better ways to go about it, but I guess in the end, the proof is in the pudding. And Mike Pence is the pudding that it stopped having pudding skin. Now it's all skin and it's covered with mold. Mike Pence is the ultimate fence sitter of U.S. politics. On any given day, if he's asked about Trump, he'll say, well, I condemn J6, but at the same time, I like Trump as a person. But he has his failings, but his failings aren't too bad. He tried to have my fucking family hanged, but I also don't want to see him indicted. That's the level of craziness that Mike Pence is on. Less than a week ago, he came out and he said, well, I can't feel too happy about the dude. He wanted to have me hanged and my family butchered and stuff like that. So obviously I have a problem with that. You know, I don't want to be guillotined, but I don't want to see him indicted. No, I love the dude. I would suck his cock. Maybe he actually did, but I just don't want to be hanged by the J6 mob that never really wanted to do that anyway. Fallen Hero 4567 sent $5. No comment, thank you. Oh my God. Yeah, Pence is a crybaby, says Frezio. Yeah, also he's completely disingenuous. Again, he's playing the Desantis game, but he's not doing it as well as DeSantis. DeSantis fucked up with his response to the Trump indictment. He is still redeemable. He's still potentially viable, depending on what the polls say over the next couple of weeks. Mike Pence isn't. He's stalled out at 6-7%. He's got some TDS suffers. I do hope he gets in because he can't win against Trump in the primary, and he takes flack off of Trump by absorbing some of the TDS voters. If Pence versus DeSantis happens, I can guarantee that Trump gets reelected. Right now, you've got his Nikki Haley and then Ramaswamy, who sided with Trump, and he did, to his great applause, Ramaswamy did deliver. He did come out and unequivocally say that Alvin Bragg had overstepped and that he condemned it. And he didn't follow it through with a personal attack now, did he? Nikki Haley, I don't know if she's bothered to talk about it at all. Poor Mikey Pence. He can't even be in the room alone with a woman without his wife being there, which in the Me Too era is not necessarily the worst thing, but it's still kind of goofy. Dennis the Menace, will civilization collapse? Every civilization inevitably collapses over time. Then it forms a new civilization. Kevin Lee, have you heard of John Michael Greer, prolific author and former arch-druid in North America? You two have a lot in common. I have heard the name, but I don't know much about him, I think. Sparky, Pence was forced on Trump or else the RNC wouldn't allow Trump to have 2016 nomination despite Trump winning the Republican primary. The Koch brothers sent him. I actually disagree with that. I think that it was mainly Trump's idea, and I'll tell you why. Because Trump could not have lost at that point. It would have been impossible for them to deny him the nomination without an utter collapse. I think that's what happened. That being said, he is the ultimate fence sitter. Again, when less than a week elapses between you complaining that Trump tried to have you fucking killed and you saying that you don't think he should be indicted, you have completely goddamn lost the plot, my dude. You're doing worse than DeSantis is doing, and he really took his lumps the other day. Ozzy's Robots. DeSantis is being run by Bush people now, sadly. That is only partially true. While the Bushes have expressed admiration for him, it doesn't appear they're actually running his campaign, which hasn't actually begun, which probably explains that. Ron Setz, insiders leak DeSantis is getting bad advice to cause Trump to run because Trump will be taken out. The claim is he's being played by neocons to hurt him and Trump. It's possible. I'm not going to get into the Trump v. DeSantis sort of thing. Like, I know a lot of people really have a lot of passion and they really get down in the dirt attacking each other. I'm not like that. I'm just doing analytic politics. I prefer Trump. I would vote for DeSantis if no shenanigans are present. I would prefer Trump, and I've made that very, very clear for various reasons. That being said, being completely honest, DeSantis did fuck up. Just like, by the way, Trump is fucking up by not getting back on like Twitter and shit. Let's not mince words. He needs to bring out the mean tweets again. Greg's Kitchen. Styx is the most logical person that ever existed. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know where I stack up in the logic department. By the way, is something happening on Rumble over here? Oh, Metal Shred Freak. Your description of Mike Pence sounds like Tim Pool. No, Tim Pool is not like Mike Pence. For one thing, Tim Pool is actually coherent on a regular basis. Mike Pence? Yeah, again, the dude tried to have me and my family killed, but I love him and I don't think he should be indicted. That's Mike Pence in a nutshell. That's his politics in a nutshell. By the way, here's why you know that Mike Pence won't be nominee. Every aspect of his politics and his personality is entirely subjugate to his relation to another person, namely Donald Trump. At least Ron DeSantis can say, hey, I've got policies as governor of Florida. Can you name anything in a bubble? Literally anything. Here's a challenge for you. Can you name one thing that Mike Pence of his own accord has done outside of the realm of being VP for Trump? A single thing. I'll wait. I'll probably be waiting for 1,000 years. Probably you can't. Unless you are really, really on the political and up. I can't think of anything. God damn, I have to do this shit for a living and have for years now. I can't think of anything that Mike Pence has done in a bubble of his own accord. That's why you know he'll lose, because people only know about him because he was VP under Trump. Jared Pierce, one thing I like about DeSantis is that he uses language only highly trained leftoids understand when condemning their leftoidisms. The Grizzly, will Trump actually get indicted, or is this all just a massive smokescreen? I thought he was supposed to get hauled off yesterday or today. I don't know at this point. Nobody seems to know. Who fucking knows what's going on with these morons? Anyway, I think that I'll go offline. So no more super chats here. There's one more. Sparky, Pence is a fake Christian. Well, no real Christian fallacy, I would say. Different denominations and takes and interpretations. Depends on how you spin scripture, how literally you take it. So I won't crucify him for that. I don't really care about his faith or whatever. I don't care about anyone's faith or their spiritual beliefs other than my own. I like to keep I like to tell people about them, but ultimately I don't try to convert seek or anything like that. As far as Mike Pence, my big problem is with his obvious disingenuous nature. Again, he tried to have me killed, but I don't want him indicted. He tried to have me killed, but he's like my best friend in the world. Yeah, I know that he tried to fucking poison me, but I don't want him to face charges for that. I think that he's a swell, a stand-up guy. He fucked up a little bit. What is Mike Pence smoking? I think that he's decided to join the legal marijuana crowd. And then Javin, do you predict or would you say that the United States will switch to a digital dollar or US coin, aka Fed Bitcoin, in the next few years? They are pushing it. We must stand against it. And the hope is that we are successful in doing so. Anyway, I'm going to go offline now. Collate things up for tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to eat tonight. I think Liz is cooking her own thing, actually. And I've been in a chili mood, but that's really, you can't prepare chili for one person. It's got to be a great big whacking ass pot with like 8 servings in it at least. So probably I'll have to wait on that. I don't know, but I am a little bit on the hungry side. I had a couple of pizza rolls earlier. The Jumbo finally brought them back, and they are extra basil-y and extra good. That's about all.